Okay, let me go over here and we'll watch the video together. Okay, here we go.
Hello, ballers! What's going on? It's Preacher. Let's have a chat about BFA. God, the sky's falling. What do you think it's like at the Blizzard offices right now?
I don't think Preach is happy with the way that BFA has been going.
Every single, at this point, let's be honest, this isn't biased, this isn't anything. Let's be honest, every single feature that they have released for BFA has been broken or bugged or knackered or has destroyed something else in some way. Every single thing.
So what are the features for BFA? Alright, so Warfronts are dysfunctional. Azerite gear is broken. What are the other things? War mode also doesn't necessarily work. Islands have been fixed like 3 or 4 times. Expeditions are dysfunctional with drops. That's very true. Mythic Plus doesn't work properly, I'm pretty sure. Voice chat is scuffed. I guess he's right. Okay, let's actually watch the video.
And it's hard to watch. And people were pointing me to the Reddit thread where people were discussing my content over the BFA Alpha and the Legion, how much I got shit on, how much I was hammered by the online community.
Yep, that's true.
How many MMO threads about I'm a doomsayer and all this stuff, and now it's coming to light, and they're all like, Preach must have the biggest boner. No, dude, no. Like, the whole point of making content like that is to change it. I want the game to be as good as it can possibly be.
He was right.
But as we're seeing now...
I was right, too.
BFA has a lot of problems. It has a huge amount of problems. And people keep saying it's going to get fixed and stuff. I don't know about that, dude. There's a lot of this stuff that isn't easy fix. There's a lot of this stuff that isn't just clicking a toggle. That should be doing that. That shouldn't crash you. That shouldn't fall through the world. That's all correct. And I want to point out here, because I'm seeing people try and, again, twist the narrative. Remember we did a video about don't change the past to suit what you want to believe.
This is about CNN.
A lot of the stuff that's broken with BFA, like the little bugs, like the orb in Temple of the Snakes falling through the floor, all that stuff we reported months ago.
That's true.
Not just me, loads of people reported that. It was the very biggest problem with that dungeon, and it still happens today. This is a lot of this stuff was reported months ago. In terms of the class balances, I reported on that 4 days. 4 days after Legion Alpha launched, I reported on the state of the classes. That isn't new.
Yes.
That isn't changed.
It's true.
In terms of the Azerite armor, Lord knows I did my best to point out that this stuff just doesn't work.
We watched that together.
Not that it was super boring. I did that part of it, but it was such a big, complex thing because it is the foundation of BFA. That it required several videos. It's super boring.
Foundation
Here's the evidence.
of sand.
Not only that, it doesn't work. And it doesn't work in a number of different ways. One, you're trying to encourage people to keep chasing this carrot that's not a particularly good carrot in the first place. And not only that, they already have a carrot. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about,
not a good carrot.
You're asking some people to chase the same traits they already have in order to bump their item level up. And in order to do that, you've provided these systems that, let's be fair here, have had a mixed reception. Like, I personally thought the islands were okay, but the islands I did are not the islands we're doing in live. They were very different. They had bosses and things and stuff like that. They made them a little bit varied. They felt different each time we went in. Whereas, one, the rewards are terrible. If you're a pet or mount collector, it's even worse. Like, I want AP, at least I'm guaranteed that, right? But it's not a lot,
very true.
Which is discouraging in itself. And they've just turned into AoE Fest because that's the most efficient way of doing it. And if your content is not that engaging, which it's not, islands I don't find particularly engaging. I'm sure a number of players do, but I'm seeing this response all over the place. And I know there's a lot of people have this mentality that's like, well, the silent majority are just having the best time ever. There's not really much evidence of that. In fact, I'm seeing the opposite in-game.
What a lie.
These aren't the guys posting on the forums. Like, in-game, not just in my guild or in my communities and things like that. People are just saying, like, I don't do this. And the Warfronts. So we have... let's talk about some of the mega issues, which were... Frankly, I'm a little embarrassed for Blizz, because, you know... Blizz was the company whose famous tagline was, "It's ready when it's ready." And we can't believe that anymore. They're not that company anymore. Whether you like it or not, they're just not that company anymore.
No.
That's not who they are.
That's true.
They obviously, whether we can guess, because again, Blizzard doesn't communicate with us anymore. They don't talk to us.
No, of course not.
They don't tell us what's happening. They just change
Why would they do
things.
that?
Whether they have shareholders to appease now, they had to get BFA on the books before a certain point in the year for reporting purposes.
Yep.
If it's that, whether it was
about money.
just laziness and incompetence in a lot of ways. I mean, if we look at the launch of and the release of Mythic Plus, where it not only like they forgot the Titanforge cap, the people were getting the caches based on Legion.
Oops.
We had people getting absurd amounts of gear from the arena. All these things that should never have happened.
Yep.
They shouldn't happen.
Well,
And yeah, they're fixed afterwards. I get that. I know people are going, well, they'll fix it afterwards. But it should never happen in the first place. We had Warfronts launch, destroyed the entire queuing system. For some reason, some glitch was going on. It would let you join, then it would kick you out after 2 minutes and say there's no instance.
Oh, they did that on
Alpha.
Alpha.
Not let you join at all.
They did it on Alpha.
And this was going on for hours. And they are fixing it.
Just
but it
like
shouldn't
Alpha.
happen in the first place.
Just like
we
Alpha.
still have all these other errors going on, and it gets even worse the higher up you do, including stealth buffs to Gahoon on heroic difficulty. They stealth buffed him, and we should have known that was a change. So we knew before we get there that you've altered this boss fundamentally from what he was yesterday. But we get there, and he's all changed, and everyone's like, what's going on?
Surprise, motherfucker.
And all the raiders are talking to each other. It's like, is Gahoon bugged? I don't know. Is he doing this? No, he's not doing that. Is he supposed to be doing it? Yes, he's supposed to be doing it, but he's not doing it. And then we figure out, oh, they've changed him, but they've not told us. And this is the problem. People are like, well, wouldn't you just adapt? We don't know if the boss is bugged. When you do things like that, we have no idea.
It's actually
the
very
boss description says it should do one thing, it's doing another.
Surprise.
And we're trying to figure out what's going on. Like, are we bugged here? Should we leave this? Do we wait for a ticket? Is it our instance? Should we remake the raid and go in somewhere else? These are the real practical problems that we run into when bosses aren't doing what they're supposed to do. And certainly when they were that way yesterday, we get in there. And that's really tricky. Mythic 10s, really fun. We have the new, I've got some footage in the background for that, of the new seasonal affix infested, where a mob is full of worms, Gahooni worms, and they heal
worms.
everything around them. So we dealt with that in Waycrest Manor. Yeah, Waycrest Manor plus 10.
With Sanguini.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
So fun.
And watching the worms go through the doors, go through the floor, and they are capable, these worms. There's, when you kill that mob, the worms pop out, and you have to kill them before they reach the next mobs.
They go wherever
However,
they want.
they can travel through walls. And if you know Waycrest
They're
Manor, you'll
interdimensional.
also know that there are infested mobs in the lobby. They're entirely capable of going into the basement at that point, or through the floor, or through the wall to the left. And if that door's the one that's locked, because you need to start going to the right, because of course the route through Waycrest changes, then they'll pull the entire instance. There's not much you can do about it, because they'll just go, right, I'm going through a wall, bye. I'll go through the door and stuff. I just like to picture the little worms with keys opening the door and running on through, and things like that. But that's the kind of thing that we're seeing all over the place right now. It's depressing. It is depressing. It is depressing. But what I'm seeing is more people either move on. I mean, I think one of the biggest outcries that people are noticing more than ever is how thin Blizzard is spreading the game in order to really drag out as much as possible. It feels a bit like a phone game in that regard, like a mobile phone game. But yet there's no way to circumvent the system. It's an enforced phone game time gating system. So an example would be obviously the Warfronts. And people now don't know they're on a monthly cycle, which makes very little sense. It makes very, very little sense. I understand why the turning... let's talk about that for a moment. So people notice that the turning contribution war effort was actually just a lie. And it is. It's a lie, because most people will do it in the first few days, and they're not repeatable. So you can't get it any quicker. You can't do anything to make it go faster.
Fill the bar.
Capping another character just to do
Doesn't
Warfront
matter.
turns to get your Warfronts earlier. No. That's not the way that's going to play out, is it, my dudes? That's not the way that's going to play out.
No.
And now they obviously realize as of yesterday this is a monthly cycle, and people are like, well, I've got to wait 4 weeks for this, and then you actually do them, which is what we pre-warned, and it's like you can't lose unless you like literally get everybody to AFK, and therefore people are like, I'm just not enjoying this because it's just doing it on its own for the most part. Like 5 or 6 players can actually make it go, and it's quite a bummer.
Oh, LFR.
As for me, where am I standing? Well, I'm kind of okay. Like I've had frustrations. Certainly, I'm definitely dropping off on World Quest and stuff now. They're just not worth the time anymore.
Yes,
if we were realistic.
Very true.
The best thing I think a lot of us can do for the game right now is stop farming AP in any form.
Can we perm ban the bots?
Because then they have no choice but to adjust everything to what the player base is. It's never going to happen, I understand.
I can go back
but
and I'll
they
do it
can't
later
release the next tiers with these ludicrously high AP levels, which is what they might do for the people who are grinding hardcore, who are spending those 16 hours in islands with their brain falling out of their ear.
16 hours in islands,
because we know
man.
there's people like 26 and 27 Heart of Azeroth levels. Like, you're spoiling it. Keep it low, and they'll have to make it low. Because as some people have now found out, some Azerite gear changes depending on what your current level is to make sure you have something to grind.
What?
Right? And this is what it's about, spreading it
Wait,
thin and keep moving the carrot and the goalpost a little bit further away. But in terms of me, I've done my Mythic 10s. I've got one more to do. I've done Gahoon Heroic twice, which was kind of fun. It was kind of fun. He's much more difficult now, which got me more engaged as a player. I quite enjoyed that,
right?
honestly. I did quite enjoy that. And I'm enjoying Uldia, which is my main focus of the game. I'm very much enjoying Uldia. In terms of what do I think Blizzard's going to do? BlizzCon's got to be a big
Nothing.
deal. It has to be. They have to be looking to do something pretty cool because
classic WoW.
It's just becoming too much of a farce for a lot of players that everything keeps moving around. Like right now, the Warfronts are a bit of candy for some guys who aren't capable of, say, doing Mythic Dungeons because they're getting 340 items. Which, if you can do Mythic Dungeons, you're well aware that's terrible, terrible gear, but it's higher than what they have right now. But it's such a little upgrade. And obviously, again, praying for Titanforge. I have some interesting thoughts on praying for Titanforge.
That's so fun. I love that.
I think there's a full video there on how that system has actually gone. But
it's great.
Those guys, again, are going to be tidied over for a while. The Alliance is going to get that in a couple of weeks. Those guys will be sort of like okay for a while. And then we've kind of run dry of the stuff that Blizzard can pace out in terms of giving it to us. Because next week we'll have Mythic Raiding. And by that point, we have everything. Right? So it's literally 2 weeks' time. The Alliance will have the Warfronts, and then everybody has everything that BFA has to offer.
Wow.
If you're Horde and you're not Mythic Raiding, you have everything now. You have everything BFA has to offer. And they've staggered it in such a way as to there's a new carrot there's a new thing to go for, which is when, as we said on the web shows, that's when I kind of think people are going to be really hitting the wall in terms of stuff to do that's interesting and engaging. Because it really does feel like most things now are designed with longevity in mind, which is how long can we get people to play this, rather than is this a fun thing to do? Is this engaging? Is this really good? I have a final thought for the guys who, no matter how bad things have been recently, and they have been bad, from a customer standpoint, service has been really bad. It has. We've dealt with some insane problems, and we still persist with insane problems. And I don't want it to be this way, but it is this way. But the non-stop defense. If I used to be in sales, if I had customers like those who, no matter how atrocious and how obvious mistakes are, that they will go, it's fine, it's all good, it's not a big deal. Those guys, like I would be having my kids' entire lives paid for already, because I have no idea how you can be that weak. Because I love Blizzard too. But you can't just gloss over every time somebody feeds you a shit sandwich. And right now,
they don't even brush their teeth.
2.0? No. I would prefer WOD right now. And I know some of you are going, you're taking the piss. I'm not. You know why? Well, in WOD,
wait, what?
The rest of the game is kind of crap. But I could sort everything out in my garrison and never had to bother with it. Do you know what I mean? There's a big difference there. Right now, I would rather be in a situation where I could just sort my garrison out and have it ticking over and go play other things until it was time to raid, rather than feeling like I need to go and save the turtles in order to keep my AP levels up, because they might just bump up alter the levels randomly and stuff like that. I would rather that. I would rather all my herbs and stuff came out of the garrison and my ores and things like that. I would rather that. Than personally thinking, well, Islands time again. But maybe I'm being a little too harsh there. We'll see how it goes. But that's where I am. In-game content, raid content, I'm all right. Mythic dungeons are interesting. Some of them are far worse than others, depending on the affixes, which is classic of Mythic Plus, which also keeps it varied. You want the affixes are supposed to change the nature of a dungeon, and therefore that content I'm fine with, certainly at the higher levels. And the raiding, I'm fine with. Heroics, okay. It's all right. And I'm hoping Mythic's going to be better. But I'm so worried, as I have been for months now, about everybody else who's not doing that content. If you're just going to grind Warfronts over and over again for 340 gear,
wow,
how long is that going to, how long is that going to be okay? Are they just going to keep bumping it up?
That's big content.
I don't know, but I hope for BlizzCon good announcements. I feel at this point they're definitely going to have to pull the wild card that me and Andy speculated about for a while, which is pull the Allied race card for the Zandalari trolls and the Alliance one.
Oh, that'll make everyone happy.
Zandalari trolls, what's the Alliance getting? Cold Tyrants. Cold Tyrants. Is that the fat dudes or the fatties? The fatties. Yeah.
Wow.
What do you think? Andy's just coming to work. Do you think they're going to have to pull the wild card already?
Unquestionably.
Unquestionably. They've got to pull the Allied race wild card.
Wow.
Yeah, Vulpera.
Fat shaming.
I think the Allied race card's all they've got up the sleeve right now. Because it's not an easy fix.
Is when things like this happen, like with the stuff that you're talking about, this is a constant running sub boost. That's what it is. It's a license to print money, so I'm definitely 100% expecting at least 2.
Yeah, I don't want that to come across as pessimistic from me or Andy.
Cynical as fuck, but it's real.
As I said at the beginning, it's not a
That's
quick
real, dude.
Azerite armor is not a quick fix. You can't. They might have to bite the bullet and redo everyone's traits if they want to keep people interested in that carrot. That's not
true.
An easy thing to do, dudes. It's not. It's not an easy thing to do.
It's
not a case of fixing a flaw or something like that. That's the entire foundation of the system. And people have been farming it, working on it. They're now getting raid tiers and stuff. A lot of this stuff, class balance, again, it's not an easy fix. Really isn't. You can't just keep buffing stuff by 5 and 10%, as we've seen this week. I mean, we're talking about balance that's so bad, they've had to buff some specs by 20%. Absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Beta, by the way.
So we'll wait and see, but that's where I'm at right now. I know it's a bit doom and gloom, but I think that's a reflection of the player base right now. I really do. And looking at these bugs, and I know for the last week or so, a small indie company, or even longer, has been a meme. But as many people have said to me, it's like, it was a meme. Now it's just getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's sad. Because this was the company we could trust, and it doesn't feel that way anymore. And I hope they give me that spark. I hope they come out and say, this is what we've got for you. I don't want an apology. And I agreed with the Reddit thread on this as well. I don't want an apology. I don't want to see a company apologizing to me. They might do it to satiate some people. I don't want that. Tell me what you're going to do about this. Do you really expect people to be grinding islands for the next year? Because you keep moving the AP levels up to get the same traits I already have. Is that the idea? Are the Warfronts going to go 340, then the 350, then the 360? And keep the player base chasing these ludicrously crappy items for some reason. Is that the plan? Or have you got something in the works that's actually going to be like a Blizzard thing that we'd like to see? Thank you so much for listening, guys. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.
So, basically, Preach is not happy with the way that it's going. And, yeah, I mean, he's right, though. I mean, in a lot of ways, he's right. Like, BFA's really, like... The thing with me is that, like, I'm doing a lot of PvP. So, excuse me. The truth is that I've actually been enjoying a lot of BFA because I've liked doing PvP. But regardless of that, it's still missed a lot, right? People said Bellior had a video on this. I don't know, really, why Battle for Azeroth feels worse than Legion for many. Yeah, I want to see this one, too, and see what other people think. I'm actually really surprised. Read latest Preach tweet. Okay, let me look at that. I want to look at it off screen. Just 1 second. Preach... What the fuck? Yay, Preach Gaming. All right. What does his tweet say? His latest tweet is him from like a picture from like 5 years ago wearing a Superman t-shirt. That's what you wanted me to see? Like, is that it? Check replies. He says, no problem. You continue to jumping and side remarks as quickly as humanly possible. No, yeah. I mean, he's not happy with the way that it's going. So here's basically what it is. He's arguing with some random idiot that's a random idiot. See, here's something that I try not to do. And this is something that I've really done my best at, is to try to ignore people that are dumb, right? Because they're dumb. And they thrive on negativity and complaining and criticism. So as soon as people start throwing names around, you know that they have no legitimate criticism. They're just mad for no fucking reason. And who cares? Who cares what they think? Wait, Warcraft dev reply. Wait, what? Wait, Warcraft dev replied to... Wait, wait a second, okay? Warcraft devs, did they actually reply to Preach? So... No, they didn't. Yeah. There's nothing else really here. Opposite of what the achievements... Yeah, of course. Okay, let's look at what Bellior has to say about it. WoW Reddit top post. Let me look at the WoW Reddit real quick, okay? Okay, so WoW Reddit. That face when Blizzard comes up with a good idea and don't remember that they did. Preach be fighting for us even more. Keep it up, Preach. For a few weeks, Battle for Azeroth beta, the chest dropped more than one item. This is intended design and behavior of the chest is likely. The behavior of the chest is to award one weekly high-end item just like it did in Legion. And then Preach says, okay. All right. Articles have been published for months on the subject on your official partner sites, and not once did you bother to correct it until the day of becoming actionable. There's zero chance that you didn't know this was the expected system by the community. That's actually true. No, he's completely right. Like, yeah, they knew. They knew very clearly, and they were just... See, here's the problem. Well, let me watch this video, and then I'll talk about it, okay? What have you been watching? Wait, what do you mean, what have I been watching? What do you mean? Like, there's nothing even weird here. Okay.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So,
one thing I want to make clear is Bellior's videos are much more well-produced than mine. Like, his videos are actually good, whereas mine were just like, literal, just like random gameplay with me sitting there without a script talking in the corner. Bellior does actual good videos. I did not.
Battle for Azeroth has been really fascinating to me. The initial reaction, of course, was quite positive. BFA delivered a massive new world, with Culturas particularly being one of my favorite places in the game.
True.
The zone design, the
True.
art, the music, it was all fantastic.
True.
Of course, though, World of Warcraft is an MMO, and that means that endgame is what really matters.
Bottom left.
Now, this is where Battle for Azeroth's reaction kind of forks off. Now, I've personally had a lukewarm experience, but seeing as how the game is very strange in how I play it because of work, I didn't really trust that. So instead, I've been listening to you for the last few weeks, and I've been thinking, I've been analyzing, and I think I know why Battle for Azeroth's endgame is feeling a little bit underwhelming. This video is the first of a two-part critique on the modern direction of World of Warcraft. So today is focusing
Two parts.
on
That means
why
I have more
Battle
content for
Azeroth
tomorrow.
feels the way that it does for many players, and the follow-up video is going to focus on the deeper game design philosophies that are at the very core of this issue. Now, I need to begin by setting my intentions of this video. What I'm doing is I'm benching my part in the fandom of the franchise and of Blizzard. I love what they make. Their games have changed my life entirely, and I still am actually having fun playing BFA with my friends. This video is not to be taken, as me laying down a truth. It's merely my own interpretation based on my experience,
I agree,
combined with attempting to leverage the broad view of the Warcraft player base that this channel affords me. So, let's begin. Now, at one point I said that BFA was kind of Legion 2.0. Upon further reflection, I think that's incorrect. Battle for Azeroth is simultaneously Legion 0.5 and Legion 1.5. Let's unpack that. The successful systems of Legion, or at least those which Blizzard have viewed as being successful, such as Mythic Plus, raids, reputations, and world quests, well, they're still here, and in some ways they have small improvements. Enough to be Mythic Plus version 2, World Quests version 2. No, they're barely different. These systems have been maintained into Battle for Azeroth, which means that even though the quests that we do are new, the dungeons that we do are new, the overall context and flow of the end game feels very familiar. What does that mean? Well, it means that it doesn't feel particularly exciting. Now that's fine, there is no real need to reinvent the wheel all the time. However, in combination with my next point, it kind of causes problems. So, some systems feel like Legion version 0.5, almost like a small prototype to what we grew used to in the last expansion, and this is where I think that most of the damage has been done. Azerite gear is smaller than artifacts in many ways. The traits, while they often are powerful in terms of the numbers, they're not that exciting. Well, exciting in comparison to what? Well, using a spec-specific legendary that heavily impacted gameplay, having cool artifact ability or trait mechanic, having a set piece that you enjoyed. Azerite replaces all of these sources of gameplay and excitement with a system that does feel quite small in comparison. We seem to have lost more than we gained, and now that we look at the older traits, we can't say that we need to wait until beta is over. It's over. We have what we have. So the high points of Azerite, basically the gameplay and the traits, they're not as high as those from the system which it replaces. Instead, the Azerite system seems to be far more concerned with meeting the criticisms of Legion, so they have a more fixed acquisition than legendaries. They don't have random traits, unlike, say, the Netherlight Crucible. They don't Titanforge. My primary point here is that Blizzard seem to have designed this system rather defensively, with seemingly their main aim being to take the perceived problems with the interactions of multiple Legion systems and then condense them into one easy-to-understand system for players. This, I would posit, has resulted in a system that feels a lot less exciting and impactful than what was there in Legion. Even though, of course, I am on the record as heavily disliking a lot of, say, the Legion legendary system since Legion Alpha. So where does all this leave us? Well, we've got a bunch of systems that were carried forward into Battle for Azeroth. They weren't changed that much, and therefore they don't really feel new and thrilling like they did in Legion. Then some systems that had problems but did provide some exciting gameplay high points, they were replaced with Azerite, which provides upsides that are lesser and perhaps downsides that are maybe a little bit lesser. Now, when I was talking to Matt, who helps out with the channel and is a Mythic Raider, about this, he summed it up pretty well. He said, "Everything seems exactly a few steps back in scope." Now, while that may not be, say, factually true, I think that it is in line with how playing Battle for Azeroth feels. Now, the deeper problem is that Azerite progression is fundamental to the reward loop of this expansion. You are supposed to be excited to do island expeditions and world quests because of Azerite gear. Now, Azerite gear is not that exciting, so we run into problems that undermine the excitement of the game's core reward loop. Now, that is only covering Azerite as compared to the systems which it replaces. Things unfortunately do get worse. Having a 325 bit of Azerite gear with everything unlocked and then getting a 340 dupe, but only to have, say, the first trait unlockable, that feels like a downgrade, even if the traits do scale up with item level. Now, this is tremendously problematic. First, it undermines your sense of progression on a long-term basis, where you feel like the game is always fighting with you to keep you grinding through ever-shifting and ever-increasing goalposts. Then, it undermines one of the core parts of a role-playing game, the excitement of getting a new bit of loot. Getting a bit of Azerite gear is still kind of exciting, but that's undermined by knowing that it might not even be usable until you grind islands and world quests for another week. Then Azerite is quite frustrating when you're playing with multiple specs. The amount of bag fiddling and management that you have to do, well, it just does not feel up to the level of polish that I would expect from a Blizzard product. I have focused a lot on Azerite here, but other aspects of the game have received the same treatment. Classes do just feel a little bit less in scope. Professions are similar to Legion, but with slightly less interesting crafts and less content. The war campaign is similar to the class hall campaigns, but it's smaller in scope and it only covers 2 factions instead of 1 for every class. So when we compare Battle for Azeroth to Legion, it is a bit of a mixed bag. But you might be saying, what about the new features, Warfronts and island expeditions? Well, they don't matter because they're not multiplicative in nature. What do I mean by that? Well, If a game feature is multiplicative, then it will have impacts that will be felt throughout the entire game. Now, an excellent example is, say, the enemy design of the original Doom. Each one of them is very different, so dealing with any two of those enemies in any combination feels entirely different from a gameplay perspective. In Doom, the combat feels something along the lines of the number of enemy types squared, and then on top of that, of course, you've got to take in the level design. Now, when you're talking about game systems, what this essentially is trying to get at is you can have a very small number of game systems that come together to create a massive number of outcomes. That's the strength of, say, sandbox MMOs, and it's why something like EVE Online has lasted for so long. Now, WoW is simply not like EVE. It is different in nature fundamentally, but I bring this up because the new systems of Battle for Azeroth are alternative side activities for you to do. Past being included in the core reward system, they don't really have an intrinsic reason to exist. And that is why Island Expeditions and Warfronts don't feel that inspiring. They are fun new additions, sure, but they don't really bring more than that. They don't represent a core change to the feel of playing World of Warcraft. They are just another thing to do that is a part of an existing carrot and stick system. Island Expeditions are a form of gameplay that only exists to fulfill the needs of artifact power acquisition, which itself only exists to serve the contrived Azerite progression system, which itself feels like a rather limp version of the Legion artifact progression.
Systems on systems,
basically,
boys.
Battle for Azeroth could exist without either of those two new systems, and you basically would not notice. They are a small bolt-on to an existing experience.
That's a really good point.
An experience that really has lasted since Legion's launch of 2016, and, well, by this stage 2 years later, it feels rather contrived. So that is why I think many people have found Battle for Azeroth to be a bit lukewarm. While they might be enjoying playing it for the same reason that they enjoyed playing Legion, it maybe just feels a bit underwhelming. Now, this video exists to talk about the immediate problem, but we do need to go a lot deeper than this. And that's why there's going to be a follow-up that is discussing the philosophical underpinnings of the game design as it is currently.
We're gonna watch
how an over-directed experience, even though it may have a wealth of content, can feel extremely small, and how because of that, I genuinely do think that Blizzard often played to their weaknesses rather than their strengths. And I suppose one way that you could sum a lot of this stuff up is that Battle for Azeroth just feels like a big Argus, like a big patch that's continuing a bunch of systems, throwing a bunch of new content in, but it kind of still all feels the same. So that's it for this video. Yeah, it's probably one of the more controversial ones that I will release because, well, you know, a new expansion has came out and I have a lot of very mixed things to say about it. So yeah, that's what's up there. Of course, I really want to know what you have to say about all of this, and especially like the core design direction of modern World of Warcraft, so let me know down in the comments below.
True.
With that though, big thank you to you for watching this video. A big thank you to everyone over on Patreon for supporting the channel. The Patreon support has been absolutely fantastic. It's just tremendously helped with us moving in to our new office, which has, yeah, it's going to be really good for the future. And if you want to check out something cool and new there, we have the Master tier, which has now been updated this month to include 2 physical items instead of 1, and you know, for the same price and all that stuff. So you can check that out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, his videos are really good. So yeah, make sure to support this guy. Bill, yours awesome. And so everybody's basically agreeing with him. If you look at like his likes versus dislikes, they're very high.